and we in the Comfama Behavioral Science Lab, where we want to center a little bit about that central behavior, which is collaboration and cooperation, but also to generate a little bit of inspiration around that cooperating is possible, that collaborating is possible, and also to be able to generate a little bit of inspiration that is not only to get together, to work together, but also these who cooperating and collaborating is to amplify forces and energies and to amplify the impact of what behavioral sciences can actually generate. And to this, clearly, and talking from my science as a biologist and as a scientist of behavior, we wanted to bring some important definitions that I think that are going to make some echo in you and are going to help you to understand what is your real potential of collaboration today in these events. Because collaborate is not only defined by the etymological point, which is also to get together with other one, but there's other ways of this behavior that it comes from different disciplines of knowledge that include or contribute to behavioral sciences. We have biology, naturally, human sciences, behavioral sciences, and to collaborate or cooperate or to work mutually, is a behavior that is very well conserved in nature. There are collaborations among different species, plants, fungi, and in us, in humans. This seems a very natural behavior that works early in the development in our brains. So that collaboration or that behavior that we celebrate today in these events emerges as a need of adapting, that in other terms would be progress, and that it happens because we can understand in that other actor in front of me some trust. So it's going to generate a shared solution that is going to generate a positive impact in those two people or in a community later on. And if you see this very well, it works as innovation principles. Innovation principles that are based on dialogue of knowledge. And that's why we call involved collaboration, because it's very important that we put together the knowledge that I have with the one you have and with the others to be able to generate a bigger impact. So from that approach of what we can understand, which is cooperation and collaboration, we believe that these type of interactions, of collaborations, can contribute with a impact of what behavioral sciences generate to be able to take these science farther than books, labs, and magazines, and the isolated work that we can actually do in our institutions and in our labs. And it's necessary to make this to happen. So to this, I would like to give the word to Linnea, and she tells us how we can actually generate collaboration to generate impact, and how, through an example that she's going to show it with an experiment in real time that we're doing today with you, we can generate information to understand how collaboration helps. Go ahead, Lena. Thanks. Thanks, John. What do we want to say with that? Beyond that, what do we want to say? We tackle the bigger question of behavioral sciences, in my opinion. That is, what nudge works better? If we know that nudges work for some people and in some places and in certain behaviors, but with each different context, it's difficult. It's very difficult to predict what nudge works better, or if any nudge is going to work. How to solve this big question? Today, we're going to share our purpose with a demonstration, interactive demonstration with all of you. Okay? We take an example that I think most of you are going to identify, which is how to get feedback. That's a difficult word to pronounce. And with customers, with members of Comfama, how to get feedback. If not, just can actually help, can motivate people to teacher how these two nudges demonstrate impact and to show feasibility. Those two concepts in English, nudge, are cat significance that comes from a grant, and to show, to make it easy, from inside behavioral insight teams from UK. And what of those nudges work better to ask for feedback from other people? We don't know, because many studies with those nudges, they don't compare the two side by side. Like those studies that just measure, and they do not compare both. And also, there are different populations for different contexts, different languages, and all those things. So it's difficult to learn from those studies what nudge works better to us for our context and what we can use. All right. Él es como, qué buen trabajo. If we cannot learn with literature, we need to collect data ourselves, okay? Let's go. Last week I launched an experiment in a platform, in a website, where people, American people, they fill surveys because of money. It's like a digital lab. I launched a small survey, all in English, for Americans that speak English, and at the end of this survey, I asked for observations from my participants, and that was an experiment of why divided in 3/3, and each of them received another nudge. For the first third, I said, mejorar encuestas. For the other one, it takes only 30 seconds. And I use a third nudge that is called Unity from Robert Giardini, and I said, we only improve together. It was an experiment with 3 nudges to request observations in participant prolific, and now we're going to vote. What do you think? We're going to raise your hands to vote. Who do you think the winner is? What nudge works better in the context? Impact, facility, or unity? Which one do you think works better? Who thinks that impact? Who thinks that impact? Only 5 people. Who thinks that it was easiness? Wow, a lot of people. And who thinks that it was the other one? Okay, what's the second one? So you think it was easiness. That's the winner in your opinion, and we're going to see the data. Once again, here, acá. Wouldn't know. So it was a tie between impact and facility, but unity was a loser. So we are finished, we have solved all. But what happened? Here, the trend was more for facility and unity. And here we see the 30%, there's a tie. So you think that it was because of the language? There was only people in English. So it was only people in English. Okay, all the survey. And we can make the extrapolation of this population and this one. Yes, it's a valid complaint. And fortunately, I have foreseen this, and last week also I launched another experiment in Spanish about with the same population with people that say that they speak Spanish fluently. Now, like, it was the same experiment, it was the same survey, a little bit difficult, different language, same nudges, but in Spanish. So improve, only 30 seconds, and just we'll work together. Now, are you ready to vote? When the language is Spanish, who the winner was? Do you think it was the impact? Nobody. Who thinks that it was easy? Interesting. Okay, you like easy things. And unity? A little bit more. People are raising hands twice. I saw him voting twice. And we'll see the results. You think that you're going to say the same data? That in English? No? Yes? Okay, well, let's see. Different. Different. So now there's a tie between easiness and unity, but impact doesn't work for Spanish. I don't know why. I understand. We solve all, right? No. No, it's not a real world. What is the real world? Right, Gonzalo, the CEO says that no, it's not the real world, it's digital lab. Yes, yes, it's a valid complaint. Unfortunately, I have foreseen that too. And last week, I launched another experiment with two companies, with your company, BWay, with the help of Calypso. Where's Calypso? And we sent emails to all the employees of BWay. Yes, we sent an email to all the BWay employees asking observations about our business process. And there were three different matters. We divided in three parts, and each part got one example with this. The same nudges. To improve future project will take 30 seconds, and we're going to improve together. And now we're going to vote the impact of each of those nudges to increase the opening. Okay, ready? Ready to vote? In this situation, a real situation with real people, would you believe that the data is going to be the same? So we're going to vote. Who do you think? Who thinks that the winner in this context with your company BWay it was impact? Wow, more people. And who believed that it was easiness? And the third one, unity. We only work together. Yeah, I think impact was the winner. So we're going to say data. So well done. In this context, it was unity. So finally, we have solved all. We have learned that every single time unity is the one that works for people that speak Spanish. That is real. Okay. What do you think? Different context, different social, different populations. You're not happy. Ah, the standards in Colombia are very high for evidence, okay? So it's a valid complaint. Unfortunately, I also foreseen that as well. And we have launched an experiment today with all of you during the welcome of the conference. You know that? Remember the cards that you got at the beginning? And we launched a small experiment with those cards. When you arrived to that conference, you receive a card like this one. And there were 3 different cards with language only 30 seconds. Remember that? Make it easy. That's a nudge. And there were 3 nudges on the cards. Yeah, everybody's looking for it. No, don't look for it. They're going to see the same data with you to see if you open the QR code based on that. Let's see the data. Let's go to the data. Can you hear me? Okay. Can you hear me? Go like this. Okay. That's what eso es lo que hacemos con personas. Do you believe that we're going to the same results with you, with these experiments? That the unity is going to work better? No? Probably. So let's vote. Vote 1, 7. Who you think that to increase the rate of opening the code, the impact works better? Facility? A lot of people. And unity? So let's see the data. We don't know. I'm just going to show the number of people that have actually opened the link. Impact? 6 people. Easy? 6 people. Unity? 4 people. We have learned 2 things with this demonstration. Number 1 is that those concepts of nudge do not generalize easily. Different context, is your context different? And number 2, you do not participate in our survey. All right. What was the point of the whole demonstration? What was the idea? The idea, our point is that normally we don't do this. We don't move 4 experiments to show that the concepts are general. We just read and study with one population, what context, 1, 2, 3, maybe 4 nudges, and we generalize the other contexts. But we can only solve the question, which one works better, if we launch more experiments that could be comparable, and that's only possible with the cooperation among Comfama, PIBE. If we want to generalize, we need to cooperate. And with that point, I give the microphone. This is a classic example. This is a classic example of a lot of work that we do isolated but doesn't generate comparativity. That is not scalable and it's not applied in the real world. So that's why it's very important that we see right now, if we go back of how behavioral sciences have worked during the years based on the impact, we understand and we can see that when behavioral sciences started with their observational studies and a lab with control with a few populations with a specific context and a specific, they weren't able to generate a very impact in the generations. The applicability, the comparability, and the scalability wasn't a lot. But as behavioral sciences have put aside the lab and started to implement field studies where there are a lot more people, samples are higher, and also there are different contexts, different socio-demographic data start generating a lot more information, and there's a lot more information. That's why the capacity of those results and those studies increases the impact potential and increases the innovation potential. So it's important that in those field studies where we have different populations involved, that we can actually collaborate and generate those type of alliances to generate a bigger impact. And our story between Pennsylvania University and Comfama and the Behavioral Science Lab started here. In 2023, in that event that we had at that time, she was invited as a speaker to provide a niche cartography, and based on the curiosity of trying to generate appropriation of the knowledge in a big population like ours, of people that could actually enter to this event, we made a study how we can actually have those from the Pennsylvania University here in our social cultural context. But it was a disaster experiment, it didn't work out, and I don't know why it didn't work out, I cannot remember. So you forget? First, we didn't spend time about the diagnosis for nudges. Second, there were more differences between the emails of the populations that are in our nudges. And third, we have sent the email of the control group of other supplier of the other groups. So we cannot use the data, but also, of course, we learned a lot of the experiment and of results. The experiment didn't work, but it was an opportunity, a very important opportunity for us, because we were able to see the work, so we were able to recognize the importance of the work she was doing and the potential that knowledge had of to be able to be applied in a real context, and especially in Comfama, where one of our purposes is to promote the care and progress of people. And we understood at that time that the application or implementation of that methodology that Linnea was showing to us could actually help us to promote the use of products and services Comfama to promote the care and progress. And it was at that time that we decided to generate that mega study to bring science academy to the real world and to have an experimental design as the one that Linnea is going to tell you. And what I want to add here is, in my experience as a researcher, it's very weird to find an organization as Comfama that works on the social impact and also the scientific impact. I was very surprised that your team and marketing communications from the social sciences, they work a lot to have a very high level. That's very rare in my experience, and I expect a lot more of that. Our mega study, I cannot share the detail because that's the design of mega study. What is special about that is not only the mega study with a lot of people. Yeah, there's a lot of people, 300,000 people, but in this, in order to study a population like this one, we study 8 subgroups that are randomized, and they're just a behavior. We have 3 behaviors from the recreation, one on science, and there are very different contexts, different motivations. And at the end, we have 1, 2, or 3 nudges. We have 6 different type of nudges and 3 versions of each nudge. 3 words different to represent each nudge. And that's important to generalize not only in the behavior of populations, but also how to make them operational. That is a detail that not a lot of people study. And that's why it's very special to know something very general for sciences and for the impact. And this experimental design could look very simple, and this is a virtual of Linnea, make simple things, complex things to look simple. But for this experiment to be able to happen, it's necessary that we put in something that is very important in all the collaboration processes, are the connections and the interaction networks. for a collaboration to actually be possible. The collaboration, as I mentioned at the beginning, is not only to say we're going to work together, but it's to be able to establish structures that allows that is flow of information, appropriation of knowledge among the different teams. With this diagram, I'm going to show you very fast how we have operated with this mega study in these 18 months, where it hasn't been easy. It has been actually patience, but we can observe the two main nodes, Comfama and Wharton University in Pennsylvania, and they have the ones who have always been in the coordination stage and design. You see there in purple. And then here next to Comfama in our lab, and with the support of the marketing team and all the teams connected to the products and services that we're working, we can able to generate a very good diagnosis using the methods of to understand the limitations that we have to have access to those type of products. And from that, from the Linnea team, the University of Pennsylvania to generate all experimental with all what is necessary and generate all the process of the sample. Imagine the big challenge that is to distribute a sample of 300,000 people, so everybody distributed accordingly, and also to generate an analysis plan that help us to understand, and without any mistakes, that all this knowledge that we're going to generate, it's going to be applicable to the population, and we're not going to have the problem of compatibility and application of the example that I just presented. And finally, very important has been also this, that node that you see this, we have the interaction that the Pennsylvania University has generated with the next different advisors, the students, and people have been in all the part of the design of this experiment. And of course, on our side, the interactions that we have generated with the different teams to generate an impact on users, and the architectural data that is locators that allows us to connect all the information and the data science, a little bit of what Ghana was showing a little bit, that it's going to allow us to identify all those patterns of behavior and decision when it comes to have access to those products and services. So this is an interaction. The invitation is that you can think about this when you're going to generate a collaboration with any other actor. John have talked about a little bit about the benefits and with all the different organizations, and that's important. It's important that we talk about the costs. It's not easy to make something like that. And for instance, we take the demonstration of today with 4 experiments between 3 different organizations. To that, there were a lot of expenses, time of your team, of my team, a lot of resources, money, also risks that I would forget the cards, or the technology didn't work, or that someone would damage something in all the experiment. So there was a risk, and to be successful, we had a lot of trust among ourselves. And that's was just a demonstration, a small demonstration for a conference. We imagine all the costs and investment for a mega study, so it's difficult. You think about doing something like that, you have to be ready to invest. And we wanted to bring this point because collaboration is not only to work and everything that is around investment and risk, but also of the 2 sides of the conversation and interaction. And collaboration, where there is a point that I have to trust on the other, and the other person's knowing, or what is the other is doing. That's the principle that why species associate among them. So it's not only, it's also the work that it can do, and it's not just to be on the other one for the other one to generate all the work, but also the contribution has to be in both directions. And finally, I would like to highlight an important point, that if you decide to cooperate, communication is vital, especially when you have 2 different languages and 2 different contexts. It's very important to be able to generate a balance in that conversation. And I see Linnea has accomplished a very important point because she's been able to transform her brain to speak in Spanish and connect with our team and with our organization. And finally, this is not a technical equipment of what we do. So I mentioned at the beginning, it's not just to work together. And here we are starting to having an impact. So we start to identify that there are some important impacts. And in scalability, knowledge to apply it to all the rest of the population, allowing to increase the use and access to those services where we are at. So appropriation is one important event from Pennsylvania University, but also there's something additional is that all this generation is not going to, it's just a big mega study in Latin America that is going to allows us to start implementing a lot of this tool and not just in the region. And finally, something that to us and in a lab has been very important, the installed capacity and the development of new skills that are generated. Alina has brought a lot of world of concepts to a lab that allows us to increase the level, the capacity to think, and that our lab is generating in this moment. So to us, it's been very grateful to be able to make this collaboration or having this collaboration because we have grown a lot. So we hope that we have inspired you to collaborate and to start today. But we are with other leaders and you can debate the collaborations and to share knowledge, because only with those collaborations, with cooperate, we can go further with behavioral sciences. Generalized, it requires cooperation. So take the recommendation from Juanes at the beginning of this conversation. Get a picture with the researchers you have here, make connections, generate contacts, do not be shy. Doors are open and this event was generated for that. So we hope that you have a very happy event and you finish in a good note. Alright. Serious, there is a survey Friday and I hope that everybody are going to answer it with lo que sea esa palabra. Why? Because we know that it's going to help us to improve and only improve together, okay? Thanks. Before asking questions, we'd like to thank our lab that has been to this collaboration, Comfama for believing in us, to our leader Mauro, also the marketing team, communication team that had made all this collaboration, and all the team that is next to Linnea. Thanks a lot. Question? So good morning, excellent exercise, congratulations. I have a question. Once the results of this mega study are obtained, so they're going to find insights that are going to be put into practice to obtain the objectives. I would understand that with those insights, we have some indications of where to go. And when putting into practice, that will require of a species of. We need to smooth that to the expert or put it into the real exercise of the entity. A reality of capacity of the company. It's not just to place, but how we translate that to the real exercise of Comfama to put into practice. Yes. I'm going to answer part of your question. I'm going to give the word to Linnea because the question is very important. And we center innovation and in development, we understand that this is the evidence and in high level knowledge that could be later used to generate a lot of paths for different strategies. But to be able to make that translation or change that insight to implement it in the population, there is a big work already done. The scalability on the side of the sample that we are working on is giving us the certainty that there's an effect that is actually population and very important. So we don't have to go through more experimentation, so we can actually apply and implement immediately. Hi. You mentioned that being two cultures in different contexts. I would like to know a little bit about where were the challenges that meant and that interculturality and what were the advantages. What do you rescue of that possibility of having working together or be working together, being from different contexts?
between the teams, right? Yeah.
I mean, de hecho, solamente creo que era el lenguaje, porque tengo gente en mi equipo que no.
People in my team that do not speak Spanish, and my Spanish is not of a high level, but I can understand that and communicate. We have to communicate more. But I think distance. It's easier to work together when we're in the same room. I don't know. That surprises me. Las conjugaciones son difíciles en español. And at 2 months, and during the collaboration, I was surprised that this team wants to improve sciences. And that's very weird. When I collaborate with companies, the only thing that they want to do is its social impact or commercial impact. They want, but it's lower. But with you, I feel that it's the same. Siempre me sorprende. I think it was a bias that I had. I want to complement a little bit to that question, and is that basically what we face the most, or the biggest challenges that we had, were linked with the different narrations. The way that American people talk, that it's so different the way that we talked here in Latin America. So I think those were the challenges, the most interesting challenges that we have, and that we were able to condense, to make match, and to have what we have today. So I think that's the biggest amount of challenges that we can actually have. Thanks, Alex. Hi. I have a similar question, and is, what challenges did you find in that cooperation? How do you face them? But also, what common grounds do you find? Interesting proposal type purposes that you have from the Academy and Comfama. And the challenges is because so there are different types. So so I'm not avoiding anything regarding to what the other provides. So how do you make possible to, if that was actually the point? Thank you. How do you say challenges? Oh, so maybe one of the main process was curiosity to donate social impact. I think what the convergence point to make the match, and we decided to do it. And the first challenge that we have was all the legal conversation regarding to how we actually going to generate that collaboration, what are the deliverables or the products are going to generate, because we're talking about two organizations that talk differently, academic organization and organization with social impact, that flow differently with different times, with different ways to operate and get close to problems. But I think at the end, an example of nature is that one. When two actors unite to communicate, they recognize among themselves, they know what the opportunities the other one can actually contribute. They trust and communicate and collaborate, and finally they grow together. I don't feel like another team because we spent a lot of time together. It's the same team. Question? Also, wanted to share the details of the investigation we generate, like available to Comfama. It's an experiment that lasts for a long time, different waves, and if it's public, the details is possible. There is a effect. Participants know that they are in an experiment. It's ethical. It's ethical. So, but data are contaminated. That people know the resources. Yes, if experiment that we did with you, you would have known the results before that we show the numbers. You would have acted with a bias, and that's the risk. If we show what we have, the population that is through YouTube or people that are here could actually be part of the experiment, and to generalize, we wanted to generalize to other behavior services that Comfama and organizations. We cannot do it without part of the experiment is to know that it's an experiment. Thanks a lot. So there more questions. Don't go some time. There's some question over there. Oh, just one more. Good morning, thanks a lot. So I congratulate you for such beautiful work. My question is, in the design or the genesis of the project, why to select nudges instead of any other method? Thanks. I can answer that, but I would like to Linnea that answers that. It's basically so what other a matter of fact, when we think about nudges, the choice architecture, the changes that we do in the language, in the process, in every single part of a decision to take in a service, choice architecture. And it was just nudges. And there's an additional point that I would like to complement to you in the end, and every single behavioral exercise starts from a diagnosis. You saw the interaction network that I showed you to you. Most of the time that we take here in the work that we did at Comfama was to make a very important diagnosis of using the different methodologies and tools from behavioral sciences to understand what are those main limitations that we have when access to a service. And understanding that context, part of the work that Linnea does is to understand from those barriers and those limitations what could be the nudges. Nudge cartography is precisely that help the most to knock down those limitations. So with that information that we built, we diagnose here, we were able to select a big list of nudges that could also we can use in the study. And then all the work of supervisors in Pennsylvania universities and many scientifics help us to select 5, 6 nudges were the ones we included in the study. And we want to measure something causal. And it's better with language. And our goal was to measure, to say something generalized. We select nudges because that's convenient for that method. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, Linnea, for sharing so many clarities and so many different ways to get closer. We're going to invite you to make a pause of 10 minutes. So we go to the restroom, we breathe, and then we come back. Thanks a lot.